The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
10 hours. Almost 11 now at this point. 10 hours it took me to get this podcast to you. Actually, it's taken me, 3 weeks to get this podcast to you guys, actually. I don't know. I hope it's not been a month. I don't even want to look at how long it's been since the last podcast was posted. But yeah, it took me 11 hours to get this. All right, this is what happened. After the last podcast that was posted, which was Mike O'Brien, my computer, if you're a listener, you would have known I was having problems with the computer a few weeks ago. The computer again, I had problems with, and it completely shit the bed. It died. It's no good. I was working on it for a couple weekends, trying to get it fixed, and I had to cancel actual interviews I had scheduled. I had to postpone other interviews that I wanted to try and get people in here for, because I couldn't fix the computer. It was completely fucked up. Beyond my capabilities of fixing it. I'm pretty good with fixing things. So it was beyond my capabilities, and when I realized that, I was like, I gotta take it to a shop and get it fixed. Luckily, my roommate, Jesse Miles, who's also starting a podcast soon, it's going to be called Bommentary, where he interviews comedians about bombing and they analyze sets and stuff. It's going to be really cool, but luckily, he knows a friend whose professional day job is fixing computers. So he's like, yeah, just bring it to me. I'll take care of it for you guys. And so we did, and just waiting to get it back. And it came back today. He brought it back to us today. And as soon as it got here, I went right in the studio, setting it back up. Like the entire hard drive, what happened was the entire hard drive was fucked. It just was no good, which is disappointing because the hard drive shouldn't be that old. And it was just wiped clean. The computer came from our former roommate that moved out, Phil. He left the computer, wiped it clean, said, here, computer, hard drive, and a new slave drive. Just have it. I'm going to get rid of it anyway. I don't need it. I don't want it. I just bought a new laptop. Don't want it. Either take it or I'm throwing it away. And here's a audio interface for the company I work for. Have fun, guys. I know you're starting this podcast and you're going to build a studio. So here it is. Have this. So he gave that to us for in regards of the podcast. And I was going to use either my old laptop or buy a computer to build this studio here. Luckily, he just made it easier for us and gave us, but it shit the bed, and it's not his fault. It's nobody's fault. It just happened. Luckily, we were able to get it fixed. And so as soon as it got here, I've been locked up here in the home studio, just like putting it back together, getting all the programs and softwares installed on it, getting the studio rehooked up. And at this time, I was adding in new hardware to the studio setup. Stuff that I had. I was like, I'm going to add this in. Like more microphone setup, more headphone setups, just because I wanted to, and it's going to be imperative later on. So I set everything up, got everything back working, installed the new hardware, and ran into a problem that I can't fix. I got to work around. It's not even a problem. It's an annoyance. Basically, I like everything in this studio is pretty much found or just old stuff that I've had around. The computer was given to us. My roommates Jesse and Eric bought me pop filters and new speakers for Christmas, which is sweet of them. So that's like the newest stuff in here. Everything else is found spare parts, stuff that I had lying around for the most part, like just desks and monitors that we had sitting in storage, microphones and cables and stuff that I've had, and mixers that I've had for years just sitting around somewhere. And so cobbled this whole thing together and put everything back together, got it working. And the problem is that who cares? But I'm going to tell you anyway, the speakers, when I open the microphones, the microphones come through the speakers. And I thought I could set it up to where I only hear the microphones in my headphones when I was recording. Apparently I can't with the software I'm using, so it annoys me that I can't fix it. Like, my workaround is just turn the speakers down or unplug things, and I don't like that. That's not pro. I'm a pro. So I ran it. Like, if you follow me on Facebook, you probably saw that. I was like, does anybody out there think they're smarter than me when it comes to audio tech? Call me. I got a problem. I need to run past somebody. And it's not that I'm that arrogant. I just know how smart I am when it comes to this stuff. And if I can't figure out the problem, There's not very many people who know the problem better than I can. And really what it was, I just wanted to bounce ideas off anybody to see if I had every avenue checked, and I did. But it doesn't matter because the podcast is here. I have everything put together, and I edited podcast. I just spent 11 hours just working on this. I'm so tired. It's literally 11 o'clock at night, and I have to wake up in 5 hours to go to work, and I'm tired, and all I want to do is just give you guys this podcast because it's a really good podcast. It's comedian. I'm gonna call her a friend now. We were friendly before, but we're friends now. India Pearl. She's a comedian and actress out in L.A. She started here in Boston, and she was back for the Christmas holiday. We ran into each other. It was like, oh, hey, while you're in town, let's go do a podcast because I want to talk to you about stuff. Like her day job is nannying, and she acts and stuff. Actually, has a movie that just came out called The Inhabitants. You can find it on Amazon and other places. I'll put a link in the description where you can go and check the movie out because it's a pretty good horror movie. It was filmed here in Somerville, in the Boston area, in an area called Somerville, and it was nice sitting down and talking with her. You'll hear because we talked about a lot of stuff. It literally was the longest conversation we ever had. We started the podcast off saying that, and it was a good talk because we talked a lot about comedy, talked a lot about LA comedy, the difference between LA and Boston, and we did a lot of name dropping. So some local, some not so local, and we did that. We talked about people. We used their real names, and that's fine. So, but yeah, we talked about because she works also at a comedy club over there. So we talked about her having to work in comedy club, and because I have no experience being a woman. Eventually, we did talk about, being a woman in comedy and being in the acting world, because it's a foreign concept to me, especially like she had said that she didn't really watch comedy, but she didn't have any female comedian icons, and that baffles me because even as a man, I've always loved female comedians. Jane Curtin, Lucille Ball, which I said in there literally at a point in my life, I wanted to be Lucille Ball when I grew up. Like, it was never any different in my head. Funny was funny. It didn't matter if it was a man or a woman. So for somebody to not grow up feeling marginalized in the world of comedy, I have no experience with that. So I need to hear it from their opinion about it. And, just being a woman with how scumbaggy most men are. I think I'm not a scumbag. I don't know. Maybe I am a little bit. Try not to be. But like I said, I didn't know. I have zero experience for what it's like to be a woman and not see a woman doing comedy. So she talks about that. And we talk about nannying and babies. And she was a princess, a party princess for a little while. Again, foreign concept to me. I clearly never would have had a princess show up to my birthday party as a kid, and no one's going to pay me to show up as a prince or a princess at a birthday party. So it's not, I guess, yeah, I knew party clowns existed. I know there's people who dress up as superheroes for birthday parties, but it never occurred to me that somebody could do that as a princess. So that's one of the things that she does as a day job, pay the bills. So it was a good conversation about a lot of things that I have zero understanding about. So I'm really glad that she came in because it was bitter cold. It was terrible. She was coming back from the Cape for a day trip, and our schedules were just aligned. Like I was getting off work and getting on the trains the same time that she was getting on the trains to come to my place, to the studio here to do this. And we were literally, actually for a little while, we were literally on the same trains, just two different cars. Like we're just texting back and forth, like, which car are you on? Which stop are you coming through? And as the text is coming through, I'm like, I think we're on the same train. So when we get off, just look for me and I'll look for you. Like she even said something like, I'm carrying a bag and I'm wearing a Patriots hat. I'm like, or I'll recognize you by your face because we know each other. And then we walked from the train station through the terrible, terrible cold to get here to record this podcast, which was great and fun. I enjoyed it. And I'm glad that I'm going to be able to bring it to you guys finally after so much stinking time to get the podcast out and so much work. So here it is, me sitting down and my interview with my friend, Nanny, actress, party princess, and comedian, India Pearl. This might be the longest conversation we've ever had.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, okay.
Most of our conversations revolve around, hey, what's up? How's things? Okay, great. Hey, that was a great bit. See you later. Everyone be safe. That was the extent of our conversations before today.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I have gained more commercial success with acting, so it just seems to be where my career has gone without my control. But I certainly put, I think, more hours into comedy, into stand-up. And at my age, I'm only, I'm in my late 20s now, but and people that are not in this business don't understand that in movie and TV world, if you're trying to act and stuff like that, for me to not have like a big agency and like a good manager and stuff like that, that's old. That's old to be just getting to LA. So you have to have something else that puts you above other people. So when I'm actually doing a lot more stand-up in LA than I ever did in Boston.
Yeah, because I can only assume you are, because it was I was here a while before we ever crossed paths.
Yeah,
to the point that the first time I've heard your name mentioned was 2 Christmases ago at the Comedy Studio Christmas party. Mm-hmm. There was a very elderly old lady at the party in a red dress, and somebody walked in. He's like, "Oh my God, is that India in a costume? Like, is she dressed as an old woman?" Because someone thought it was you.
Yeah, you know why?
And I was like, I have no idea who India is. And they're like, India Pearl, no idea. I was like, not a clue, never met her.
Yeah, because
and then
the
I think
other
you were at the
chick
party,
who does
somebody pointed
that,
out.
yeah, the other chick who does that, it's Mary something. I'm not going to remember her name right now, and that's terrible of me because she's very talented. Her whole shtick is going on stage as a dirty old lady.
No, this was a real old lady.
Oh, it was a real old lady.
She wasn't in the show. She was just at the party walking around. I think she just came to the show. And somebody had, at least one or two people had asked if that was you.
So that's
the first time I remember hearing your name.
Like, I was doing an old lady thing.
Okay.
And I have YouTube videos on it. So, like, me and a friend of mine, we got together. We made a couple of videos where we were these 2 old ladies. One was, I was the Irish Catholic one, and she was this Jewish one, and we were roommates at a complex, and we both were senile, and we had to, like, take care of each other, but we really, like, kept pranking each other. Yeah.
This now sounds vaguely familiar, and I may have come across it by accident.
If you look at it online, it's called Ethel and Evelyn. Or The Adventures of Ethel and Evelyn. Something like that, but it's on my YouTube channel somewhere. Probably has like 500 views, tops.
I think my entire YouTube channel that I've had for 10 years has 500 views altogether. Maybe. Like everything.
Usually
I know
my
that's a
videos
lie.
Get around 400 views. My older ones, like I did like Kristen Stewart acting tips. I think that's got around 1,500. Yeah. Something like, I don't know.
No, I know I am lying about the number though, because I got banned in Germany on YouTube. My YouTube account is banned. I have to double check. But for a while I was banned in Germany because I was doing these dumb rants on the radio station I worked for.
Right.
And then I would take them and put them on YouTube, pictures and everything. No real videos, but just take celebrities' pictures that I'm talking about. Like if I'm talking about the 2 of the twins that were in Playboy or whatever.
Yeah.
Katrina and Katrana or whatever their name.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a real person's name or the name of an anime cartoon I just made up. But I remember doing a video of them, and I think that's what got me banned in Germany.
Oh.
And it was nothing salacious. It was just basically me complaining about them.
That's
and I
so
think
weird.
it had something to do with them on threesome. I don't know. It was a lot of years ago, but
that is so weird.
Yeah. How many people get banned on what? And by the way, what do you have to do to get banned in Germany?
Don't they have tits on TV, like regular cable there? I think.
Well, they have drive-through whorehouses, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think that's true as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, beyond all that, everything weird happens in Germany. Or Florida.
I saw Euro Trip.
Yeah. It's also an old Loveline game where they'd have callers back in the Adam Carolla days. He would have callers call the radio show and be like, tell us an effed up story that either took place in Germany or Florida, and we have to guess.
And you have to guess which one it
and they'd
was?
have to guess. Yeah, the
That's
callers would tell
hilarious.
them. I wish it was a bit I could steal. Like, the mid-90s, just sitting in my car listening to Loveline. If I could steal everything Adam Carolla did then and get away with it, I would. But
I guess that's the challenge. You have to start coming up with things that are worth Adam Carolla stealing from you. I'm not suggesting he ever stole anything. I'm just saying it'd be funny.
no, yeah, the best thing would be, life would be better if I was
Good enough to be jealous of.
yeah, exactly. That'll never happen. I'm not even jealous of my own stuff when something good happens. But so, did you stay in LA because the relation broke up, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were going to still come home.
I'm not going
to harp too much on the
That's
relationship.
okay. No, we decided, I decided I really wanted to stay, and I guess I thought that if I dug my heels in, he would eventually come.
Which is, by the way, not a bad plan for him because he also acts too occasionally, doesn't he?
Yeah. Here's the thing about LA and New York comedy. I think they're two completely different worlds. I think that you can be bi-coastal if you get a good manager, but you have to build a foundation in one city first, and you have to make sure that you have specific goals for your comedy career. I think if you want to be on a sitcom and you want to do movies, then you should go to LA.
Of course.
And if you want to just be a club comedian and try to get on Comedy Central, like, you should have your foundation be in New York.
And maybe occasionally do commercials or SVU or something like that.
Exactly, but there's not that much stuff that shoots there.
Well, Atlanta is like the new place to go if you want to get
well, we
acting
had
work.
that argument, time and time again. Even a year later, we still had the same argument. For like a long time throughout our relationship, we kept having the same argument, like which place was better, essentially.
Yeah,
for me, which place was better. And I still think LA is better for me, especially considering the success that I'm having right now. And I'm not even, that successful, but I think I'm doing pretty well for where I'm at, and I'm happier there. And I don't think I'd be happy in New York.
You were just telling me that you just did a horror movie, right?
Yeah, so this will be my 5th horror movie. I was thinking about this today. It'll be my 5th horror movie.
Since being in LA, or just
no, just ever.
Okay.
I don't know how that's happened, that I'm in these two completely different worlds, but I shot a horror movie in Somerville 3 years ago.
Okay.
And it was we did a lot out in Salem too, and it was called The Inhabitants, and I played the ghost.
Okay.
And it was like, it's pretty scary. It's cool. So it's coming out tomorrow, January 5th, on DVD and Blu-ray, and it already came out on demand and on iTunes and stuff. So that kind of gave me like a credit. And then so when I knew that it was getting released soon, I went to the Burbank Film Festival this fall, just like by myself, because I was like, I'm only hanging out with comics. Like, I'm not really meeting the right people. I got to go like out and meet people. So I go to the film festival, and it's like horror and sci-fi night, and I have all these postcards for the movie. I'm like, this is perfect. So I met a bunch of people that night, and then I met this guy.
So you're basically going there to handshakes and promo the movie. Yeah,
and people were so cool about it. They loved talking about it. They loved talking about their stuff. Like, I got to know so many people that night. It was awesome. It was definitely a good choice. And then I ended up getting called in just to shoot a promo trailer for a movie that they wanted to send to the producer to get the funding to shoot the feature. And then the week later, I get a call that they want me for the lead in the feature.
Oh, that's good.
So this feature is called Hallucinogen, and it's going to be when it comes out, it's going to be in select theaters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
No, I really expected, like, we shot a thing, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, no.
You actually have legit things, which is not, I would not, all right, I think I just made an asshole out of myself.
No, like, I'm very lucky. I am not, I don't even think I would not say I'm a typical situation, but I think I'm very charming.
Well, I'm just so used to the DIY world, like punk rock, do everything yourselves, don't put it on a major thing, indie all the way. Like, my friends were making movies on and selling them on VHS that they dubbed and did everything themselves.
Yeah.
And they're crappy, terrible quality VHS on top of everything else being crappy as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So whenever somebody actually does something that, and I can't understand in this day and age, things can go from, hey, we shot it in my backyard to it's actually people being watching it.
Yeah.
Other than, like, I know the internet's there and it happens to everybody, but it's still, like, what is that one factor that goes, like, this is the thing that we made ourselves down that everybody else is seeing. There is no key thing that makes that happen. So whenever somebody gets to that stage, I'm like, oh, no, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not that I doubt they could do it. I just can't, I'm just ecstatically.
You don't know how it works.
Not so much that, it's more I'm ecstatic that you somehow figured out the puzzle.
Yeah, and especially, I think, for a while, you know, when the internet and YouTube and, like, iPhones and, like, everything just became so accessible, it became so anyone could make a movie. Mm-hmm. And the first people who figured that out gained success from that. Now, it's like any asshole with a camera can make a movie.
No, any asshole with a microphone and a computer can do a podcast.
No, that's true. But so you know how hard it is just to get people to, like, even care or listen or watch.
So that's the thing that I can't understand. Yeah, we can make these things. It's the getting people to see them.
Yeah, the reason I've done, not the reason that I've personally done a lot of horrors, but I think the reason that a lot of horrors get funding is because they make money. You know, people, especially teenagers and 20-somethings, and then there's this whole group of horror fanatics, you know, people who are in, like basically any age group, but probably more like late 30s, early 40s, people that I know from, like, my sister's friends and all those people. They're, like, horror crazy people. Like, they know every director, every writer, everything from, like, the 1930s onward or whatever. So they get really into that. They blog on all these sites. They read every horror site. So, like, I'm in a horror movie that gets a good review on Dread Central, or, like, we're getting all these, you know, shout outs from places like that. And then I guess I can feel really proud about that. Like, The Inhabitants, Dread Central was following these guys, the Rasmussen brothers, since their last movie that got on Redbox. Because they wrote John Carpenter's The Ward.
John Carpenter's Award?
The Ward.
The Ward.
Yeah.
I know who John Carpenter is.
Yeah. So he
From
did this
that
movie about,
vampire
like,
movie.
an insane asylum that they wrote. And so that's kind of how I got hooked up with them, just through, like, another random. I've never gotten anything I have in, like, a conventional way.
But they're the ones that made The Inhabitants here in Somerville, you said, in Salem?
Yeah.
Okay. So are they Boston guys?
Not originally. I think they just like it here. They're from Texas. They lived in LA for a while, and they've been out here for, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to theater high school, and I would like to do acting. It's not a passion like it would be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for as much as you like it, I would just do it to do it.
Yeah.
But across the street from here,
Mm-hmm.
I just went outside smoking a cigarette one Saturday morning, and I see people milling around. So I walk over, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? What you doing? And they're like, oh, we're filming a movie. I'm like, oh, cool. What movie? And it's a bunch of people from New York came up here to make a movie about a lesbian, Ukrainian comedian.
Okay.
Who had to move back in with her grandmother or something like that. Okay. So they're filming at that and down the street. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's great. Kind of a legit thing, you know, still independent and whatnot, but legitimate work and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, here's my info, because it was about comedy.
Yeah.
I'm connected to the comedy community here. They wanted to do a comedy show where they can film some people doing stand-up and have a real show for people while still get some B-roll footage and stuff, and have a place where their character can do her stand-up bits.
Yeah.
Her act as stand-up, even though she wasn't a comedian, she was an actress.
Yeah.
And et cetera. And then they can have real comedians and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, here's my info. Call me. I'll find somebody who can do it. And I think they actually wanted to do it in Hyannis, and they never got back to me.
Okay.
So it's like, all right, I get it. I'm comedy. I'm not the movie producer type guy. I'm just literally standing here in gym shorts and a t-shirt smoking. Clearly I'm not coming from the gym or going to the gym. But that's one of those interesting things that I was like, oh, this is great. I wish I would have followed up on him. I wish they would have followed up with me so I would know when the thing comes out.
Yeah.
That's great that we live in this time where you can do that. You can just find a little bit of funding and make a movie And then, unfortunately, it doesn't always get out there.
And
but
now
this is the same time the Nick Chambers comedian movie was happening, too. Did you know about that one?
I'm not sure.
Nick Chambers, you know Nick.
Yeah.
He's starring in a movie about a comedian called It's Not Funny Anymore. Basically, it's a movie about a comedian with depression and how he deals with it, wherever this and that.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
It's completely far-fetched that a comedian would have depression.
Yeah, I know
so... The story they were telling me and what I knew of Nick's story, they sounded very similar. Only one was about a black comedian, one was about a lesbian Ukrainian Jewish.
Yeah,
comedian.
it's kind of like it's like in right now. I feel like after Funny People came out or 50-50, not that wasn't really like about.
Wasn't 50-50 Joseph Gordon-Levitt with cancer?
Yeah, but it was about like a real story that happened with that group of people. Like it was somebody that they knew when they were younger.
Was it an Apatow movie?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I'm just recalling it.
I'm trying to remember. I didn't actually see it either because I heard it was really depressing.
I just never came across my path. That's why I haven't seen it. But is it? So it's about a comedian who would get cancer.
I think it was.
Huh.
If we're wrong, I'm sorry.
Oh, is it the comedian who got cancer from the Real World, like season 2? No, okay. Wasn't there a comedian in Real World season 2 that got cancer? Okay, Real World season 2 was.
Let's just age ourselves for a second.
I was well old enough to remember it. You definitely weren't.
I was not.
No,
I was not old enough to watch it. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, I was old enough I was old
not
enough
allowed
to watch it.
MTV.
And not only watch it, but remember it. If I had any memory at all. But anyway. I think it was like season 1 or season 2 there was a comedian on. I think there was the only time they had a comedian.
Okay, yeah.
I know more about comedy than I do the Real World.
Well, that's good.
So you have that. That's being released tomorrow. The horror movie you just did, are you still in production on that one? Or
no, we wrapped.
You wrapped.
They did something insane. They ended up getting Dave Brewer as the director of photography, and he is the guy who actually shot Insidious.
Okay.
Great guy. Loved working with him. It was so tight. Like, we did not have a lot of time because he was like, oh, like, I have this thing. Like, I got to go to Thailand for a month. So they sped shot the crap out of this thing because then the same group of people are shooting another movie. The end of this month, early February, they're shooting a movie called The Doll. They got that chick who's the human Barbie from Ukraine or wherever she lives. And so they want me to do a cameo in it and get like murdered or something funny. But they I know. It's the premise is that she's like actually a doll that comes to life as a person, and
it's like
you can just from the title you know what it is.
Hire a fat guy to play a fat role instead of getting a fat suit. I get it. I just thought she's so cuckoo. Cool. Like, even when they say, hey, look how crazy this is, like, no, don't click on that link. Don't look at it.
Not gonna lie, I can't wait to meet her.
I mean, no, if that's your thing, that's fine. That's great. To me, I don't think those people need to be given...
Encouraged.
Encouraged.
Yeah.
They don't need the encouragement, the attention, because that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They just don't know it. They have...
So they...
We should feel... But we should look at... this is going to be the worst thing I'll ever say is people like that who are that needy, we should look at them like we do... mentally handicapped people where it's like, oh, they need help.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying that mentally handicapped people aren't capable of doing things. But at the same time, it's like, okay, look, he's handicapped. We'll give him some space and some room or whatever we need to give him. Kid gloves. With these people, we should handle them the same way.
I mean, she's a nut, probably. I haven't met her.
You know what?
Let's just
Maybe
assume.
She's a nice person and she's totally sane. But when you want to do that, when you do that much to your body to make yourself look like a doll,
it's weird.
I can't imagine you being normal. But maybe she's normal in person, but things inside.
Yeah, I
don't know. The wheel's turning, but the hamster's dead. Type thing, you know.
That's
good
fun.
for you.
Yeah, so we shot.
At least you have something to look forward to it instead of just like, I get to go make a movie. Oh no, I get to meet somebody who's a freaking weirdo.
We shot the whole movie in Hallucinogen. We shot it in 9 days, which is really quick. Let's just put this into perspective. And it was all night shoots too, right?
Okay.
So this is how crazy I am, right? I'm getting paid to do this movie. Not a lot, but I'm getting paid like
in LA.
Ultra low budget.
Is where it shot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted me to shoot in a couple of weeks, and I didn't have enough time to get time off from I nanny. Like, I watch a baby. That's how I pay my rent most of the time. But, you know, sometimes I get a gig like this. So that's like, that movie paid my rent for like a month and a half. So that was awesome. So we ended up doing sick. I would get up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock and go watch the baby, go straight to set, be on set till 2 or 3 in the morning, go to sleep for like 3 hours, and then do it again. So I was like for like a week straight.
At least it was only a week.
Yeah.
Having a rough week pay your rent for a month?
Yeah, it was nothing.
I'll do it every month.
Oh yeah, it was nothing like, Michael J. Fox talks about how he was shooting Family Ties and then he was going to Back to the Future at night. That's insane. Like these are the things you can only do like in your 20s. I don't know how other people do them. I mean, luckily I'm not a mom because I was like, I can't imagine having to like go back at night and getting woken up by my baby.
Or having to worry about someone watching your kid when you're not there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ugh.
So
condoms, everyone. There's a reason for them.
Seriously. It was really fun though. And then when we wrapped, it was like I was like, what do I do with myself? We're done? Oh my god. And then I like went back to the house to hang out. Like the next week was Thanksgiving weekend, so I was still there like hanging out and they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I feel like I don't belong anywhere else.
It's like you just got out of prison. You're like, I can't make it on the real world anymore.
We were still there a lot before that because we had rehearsals and stuff. So I was just used to going there all the time. And I'm like, like they're like, India, what do you do for fun? I'm like, fun? What is fun? I know. People ask me what I do for fun, and I'm like, well, I spend a lot of time at bars. And they're like, drinking? I'm like, yeah, but also writing jokes and sitting around for 4 hours waiting to get 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually, sometimes 3. That's the thing. In LA, there's a lot of mics that I don't even bother with because there's so many assholes that go to them that you only get 3 minutes.
And that's honestly, there's a mic here on Mondays that does that 3 minutes, and I don't go. Nothing against the guy.
No,
nothing
I
against
don't
the
go
location.
to those. It's stupid.
3 minutes is not enough time for me to work on something.
No,
personally,
I think
some
it's
people that's
ludicrous.
fine. Some people are one-liners. They have their jokes take 10 seconds. They can get out 300 of them in 3 minutes.
Yeah, so
Great
I
for them,
have specific ones that I go to in the San Fernando Valley that I know I'm going to get 5 or 7 or maybe even long, like sometimes 8, depending on where you go. And I'll
7 and 8 in anywhere as an open mic is gracious.
And it's because it's places like that where it'll be like some seedy bar in Van Nuys, and it's not super popular because it'll be like a Sunday night, but I'm like, yeah, I'll buy $5 cocktails because they're fucking nowhere else is going to sell them that cheap, and I'll just hang around here for 3 hours in this like dirty place, like 7 or 8 minutes of time because that is worth it.
Oh yeah, it's more valuable. The time on stage is more valuable than the money or the situation
I'm not
you're
gonna
in.
drive around to do like 4 mics for 3 minutes a piece, and like at the end of that night I'm just gonna be exhausted and hate everyone. It's just not worth it to me. And it's like, to me, having a longer set is more important than like doing, I guess, more time in bits and pieces. It's like when you rehearse a play, you're not gonna only practice like random scenes and then hope that you're ready for opening night. Like you have to have tech rehearsal and do everything in order, you know? Yeah. And I've had like this conversation with some LA comics who are like, they're just not used to anything else. And I'm like, dude, when's the last time you went to a club and you had to do 10 to 15 and you didn't fucking panic? Yeah. Because like you haven't done even half that in a row in who knows how long. That's why I just don't bother.
No, it's the same thing. But there, on the other side of the coin, there's like one guy who who runs 2 or 3 open mics now, and now he's getting to the point where he's billing that as like, I give comedians 15 minutes, an irresponsible amount of time. It's like, all right, I appreciate what you're doing, but at the same time, I hate what you're doing. Because I don't want to sit through
15 minutes.
I don't want to sit through 15 minutes of anyone's open mic comedy, even my own. Like 15 minutes is too much problem. And here's the problem. Yeah, you don't have to go the whole 15 minutes, but whoever doesn't go to the end of the time. How many times are you at a thing and somebody goes, how much time do I have left? If you're asking how much time you have left, it's time to get off the stage. Yeah. In my opinion. If I'm ever worried about the clock, or if I have enough time to finish something, then I'm done. If I have to think about, all right, what can I do in the amount of time? The answer is nothing. Get off stage. You're done. Especially when it's like you get the light for 1 minute. You're like, oh, I got 1 minute left. What can I do in a minute? Nothing. Get off stage.
Yeah,
be the
if you're
hero.
Done with a bit by the time you get a minute light, I'd say you don't always. It's like, unless you know you have a one-liner that you need to try. Yeah. You know, it's just. And people think like, oh, it's only 1 minute. And I'm like, yeah, but it adds up, man. By the end of the night, everybody's falling asleep.
Yeah, you end up sitting there for 5 hours waiting to go on stage because
Yeah.
everyone took to the last very second or more.
Yeah.
And of course, what happens, you get the light and you're like, oh, how much time do I have left? You have a minute. A minute. What can I do in a minute?
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yeah,
10 seconds.
so
You
many
now have
people do
50
that.
seconds.
Yeah, if you're lucky. God.
So that's what bothers me, and that's the problem. You're going to see that for 15 minutes at his shows. And I've done his shows once or twice. I've done them twice. I can keep... You've seen me. When
Yeah.
you don't like me, I'll keep going and keep
Yeah,
going
yeah,
until
yeah.
you tell me to get off stage. But I won't stop and think about something. The moment I need to stop to think about something, I'll end everything.
If it's a booked show and there's a decent audience and you have people who you know can do that time, that's different.
Oh, a book show with 15 minutes of material completely is fine and okay.
Yeah, but
15
even
minutes
then,
of
like-
testing things out.
Yeah, no, that's just torture for everyone involved.
I know. His
God.
heart is in the right place. He has great intentions. But he's
can't.
just, I don't think he
Can't deal with
realized.
that.
Yeah.
I would be shit-faced by the end of the night because I get so bored.
Oh, yeah. That's probably why I have black lung because I don't drink as much. So I go out and I smoke more.
Yeah.
That's my time killer. Like whenever I get bored, I go light up a cigarette.
There you
That's
go.
what I do. Booze aside, something you can't do while boozing is watching kids.
No.
Well, you're not supposed to.
No.
Does nannying work out well for you out there? Because that's your day job.
Yeah, you have to find the right family for you.
Okay.
And
Is it are you working for an agency or on your own?
No. I work for just a couple of friends of mine. They had a baby, and I was working for somebody else, but I was commuting down to Santa Monica, which, if you don't know the LA geography,
Not a
it's
clue.
like basically from where I live in North Hollywood to the beach is like 35 minutes on a good day, but in morning traffic at 9 a.m. it takes you an hour to get over there, and it's awful. And then because I was only doing that part-time, I was also a secretary at a comedy club part-time, and I was like doing ticket sales and all that
I like how
stuff.
you're saying this in past tense, but we both know you still work there, right?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of like, well, I was working there like 25 hours a week. So about 4 days a week I was doing doubles, or 3 days a week I was doing doubles.
Doing the nannying and then the club.
Going all the way. Yeah. So I was working from like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. basically.
Yeah.
And it was awful. I was only making like maybe $400 a week.
Oh, working 50 hours and only making 400 a week. That is awful.
Yeah, it was horrible. Because one thing I'm making, decent pay, and then the other thing I'm making minimum wage. So I have to work like a third more to make the same amount as the other place.
None of it's still full-time hours.
No,
either.
and
Yeah.
so my friends, they had a baby, and they were like, we're really looking for a nanny. Would you consider being our nanny? And I was like, only if I can make, X amount a week. I'm still employed at the comedy club, but I just cover shifts when people call me and need me to come in.
Okay.
And that way I can I still go in all the time. I'm still connected there, and I still get my discount on food.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. And I can get spots sometimes, not really. I mean, they're not as helpful to employees as other clubs are.
Okay. And no offense to you, that's good. They're not going to show favoritism to people that work there.
I disagree, though.
I think there should be...
Because I don't see what the advantage is for a comedian to want to work there, and I don't see who the fuck else would want to work there.
True on that. But I think it should
any
still be
comedy
based
club,
on talent.
No, that's true.
And to the point where...
in LA, it's not always based... And this is for any club.
Comedy in general is not based on talent.
It's not
we all
always
know
based
that.
on talent. It's based on, TV credits and all that crap,
Oh,
if
it's
people can bring in
favoritism,
people... Or it's a favoritism thing.
Like here in Boston,
but
it's like...
I should not... Somebody who is funny and is regularly at the club and putting in the time should not be getting the same amount of bullshit time as some unfunny idiot who just brings his stupid friends to shows.
No,
and
I
I'm not
agree.
saying this to say something bad about the club I work for. I'm saying this for like any club. If you're good to your people and you allow them to grow as comedians, they'll remember you when they start to do better.
I think in my head, the ideal situation is talent first, association second.
Yeah.
So even if you're an amazingly talented and good comedian, but you're not here as often as somebody who is, I think the talent beats out loyalty. Loyalty will beat out loyalty will be if you're both equally good. Loyalty will trump it.
Yeah.
But better talent should always beat loyalty with less talent.
Yeah, but
and that's what isn't what always happens. It's somebody who's not as good or whatever. They're the bringer, or they're a favorite or whatever, or they have the loyalty. They just don't have the talent. They end up getting into places or getting put on things.
They get those things where it's like they regularly MC because that's probably all they'll ever do.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, no. In the long run, time will take care of those things. So
it's not really an insult because not everybody likes to MC. I can be a good MC, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
But it's slightly an insult when you're like, when somebody's like, oh, I like that guy, they're funny, and then you're like, well, they're a great MC.
Yeah. Well, I've always said, and I've been talking to people a lot about this lately because we're having a hosting problem here in Boston, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah?
Whereas you have people who are hosting who aren't very good.
Okay, yeah.
Who are great comedians to begin with. They have some funny stuff.
It just makes the rest of the show stink. It's a hard job. Not everybody can do it.
Not an easy job.
And there are people who make fantastic MCs way better than most comedians. And they're not that funny.
Well, that's the thing about being a host or an MC. You don't have to be funny. If you
you should be a little funny. You can be witty and charming as opposed to doing all your bits.
Yeah, if you basically that's what it is. You just need to be endearing, charming, and welcome people and get the show moving. Yes, clean.
You want most hosts to be clean.
I'll agree with that for the most part. I think if you're charming enough, you could. It depends on the level of dirty.
Yeah.
But for the most part, as a host, you should your material should be clean. You shouldn't be talking about the time that you gave herpes to a girl or whatever
that's the
dirty
thing is, like,
material.
That's one of the reasons why I don't make the best host. Like, I can host, I'll do it, but I don't love hosting because a lot of places want you to be clean, on the cleaner-ish end when you're hosting. I'm not very clean. And I have, like, one of my friends, he's, like, close friends in LA. He's semi-connected. He's like, if you write 15 to 20 real clean, like, I'll get you some dope work. Like, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, that'll...
That'll happen soon.
One time he sent me a picture of, like, a note that they had at a club. He thought it was funny, and it said, like, this whole really long paragraph of all the stuff they weren't allowed to say on stage because it was a corporate event, and it was, like, really, like, you have to be super clean, like, no sex jokes, no swearing, no blah, 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 blah. And I go, my answer to him was, oh, shit.
The general response to those things is like, fuck me, I got nothing for this. I got shit to do with this.
Yeah. I would have to go home. I would get there and be like, see you later. Should have called Brian Regan. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
It is hard writing clean, and I don't try to write clean.
Yeah.
I just don't try to write dirty, if that makes any sense.
I don't think
personally.
I don't think I do either, and I think...
But you still write what you think's funny, and unfortunately, like, I don't write dirty as much as I do dark.
There are a lot of people these days who I think when they first get into comedy, they do this thing where they try to do a shock factor.
Yeah, 100%.
And at this point in comedy, I find nothing shocking as much as really goddamn annoying when they do that. So it's like, you're not going to shock the audience anymore. They all watch this guy or that girl. They know the Amy Schumers and the Sarah Silvermans and the, Louis
C.K.'s hilarious or whatever.
Yeah, about, like, they understand, like, you can be shocking or crazy or weird or whatever. They're not going to appreciate something if it's just not funny. Like, you can't go on a stage and be like, dicks, periods. Like, it's just ludicrous.
There is a open mic at Terry O'Reilly's in Newton.
Yeah.
That I go to every Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm actually sorry because you're staying in Newton while you're in town. And I'm sorry that you're leaving on Wednesday morning because this is a great open mic. It can be a little bit of a fight, but I love it. It's my gym. It's where I go to work out.
Okay.
New stuff. But it's one of those things where you kind of have to work. It's so similar to Cheers.
Oh, I miss that place.
I'm sorry to make you sad. But it's similar in the way that Cheers was, that when there was a crowd at Cheers, you kind of had to work for a little bit, but you got honest reactions from them.
Yeah.
This is a little bit harder work on your behalf, but when you get them, boom, you're on. You're getting honest reactions from an honest crowd, and it's great. And it's 75-25 good nights, I think, at best. Maybe 60-40. Even 60-40 good audiences week to week. So there was one night, and I'm boisterous, I'm loud. Every joke I've ever written has a part where I just drop the microphone and shout for no reason. Like,
Okay, yeah.
I can catch people's attentions. So it works out well for me there. But I've watched other guys again there try to do similar things, try to get people's attentions, and they can't do it because that's just not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was on the example of walking on the stage just yelling dicks, dicks, dicks. Guy walked up there and just started there's a railing. And have you ever been to Terrorize? Because I know
I might have.
it's where Justin P. Drew used to do his monthly Monday show. Okay, anyway.
I don't know.
There's
I
a
haven't-
banister.
it's been a
There's a
while.
railing in front of where we performed.
Okay.
It's an awkward setup.
Okay.
But, so the guy walks up there, he takes the mic, just looks at it and just goes, cunt, 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 cunt. Just slamming down on it and just yelling cunt. Now, granted, everyone stopped what they were doing and paid attention, but not for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's so weird.
He did his job of getting people to pay attention, but then they also immediately fell out because his
They're
jokes
like,
weren't
"Look
good
at
enough to
this
follow it up.
asshole."
Yeah. And
Like,
and
he's
his
just-
his jokes weren't good enough to follow up that kind of performance.
Yeah.
Instead of getting people's attention of going, all right, what's going on here? It was more of, ugh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, you
I
can't.
can't deal with that.
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. And a lot of people in LA agree with this. They think, I mean, it's obviously mean, but they all say, well, I started saying this a couple months ago, and me and my friends, like, we just laugh about it. Like, there should be, like, a board of selectmen that will say, if after, like, 3 years you don't have a decent 5 minutes, please find another hobby.
No, see, I can't agree with that. There's some people who I would love see get thrown out for that exact reason. But at the same time, some people have a longer learning curve. And
yeah,
so
but 3 years. Come on.
Yeah.
Not to even have 5 where you don't get one laugh. Where everyone's
Okay.
like, dude, you don't even know how to perform in front of people.
Okay, yeah.
You have terrible stage presence. This is not for you.
Okay, within 3 years they show no improvement. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, 100. Okay,
That's
then
what
yes.
I'm saying.
Okay, all right,
Like,
good. I'm
I
just thinking of
think-
people who are 3, 4, 5 years into it and they're still writing jokes that aren't funny, but they still understand joke structure. You could see that they're progressing. You could see that from day 1 to day 9.
If you can see how
they've still
progressed.
progressed,
Yeah, that's what I'm
but
saying.
they still suck under
There'd
progression.
be like a file on you, There'd be
The
like
comedy Illuminati.
like you have like Illuminati of it'd be like you've shown great strides in comparison to where you used to be. But it's more like a way that I wish we could just get out the crazies and the assholes. There's this one guy in LA who, I mean, I'm sure there's more than one, but there's this one guy in LA who I cannot stand because he gets laughs because people are laughing at him and not
With him.
They
Or
don't
at the jokes.
yeah, not at the jokes. They're laughing because he has 18 screws loose. He's a vet and he's a drunk and I don't know if he works. He's crazy. He just gets up there and he thinks he's Doug Stanhope and he's nothing like him. And he's just yells all these things about government conspiracy and black people and like cunt bags and like women think this and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, like you're not a good person.
No, at all. There's nothing
You're
about
not
that
even,
rant
there's
that makes you
nothing
good.
charming or appealing about you. Nothing about this is funny except that you're drunk and you're being horrible. That's why we're laughing. Like, you're not a comedian. Like, go home and go to rehab.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad. It's really sad. In his case, it's really sad. And then there's other people who are, like, legitimately
Mentally unstable.
mentally unstable. I don't feel comfortable having them in the club sometimes, especially around alcohol. And then there's also, the cute dad who thinks he can write funny jokes because his wife thinks he's adorable and funny. And then he just gets, like, the hosting gigs because he's funny for, like, the old people crowd. I don't know. Like, there's like, little examples of people who are, like, it's like, yeah.
Adorably funny, but
you
not actually
can-
funny.
Why are you doing this? It's because you're bored. Because you're really bored.
Dave Stern is exactly that. He's doing this because he's bored, but he's not the adorable, funny grandpa
No.
comedy. He is, I am going to say the worst possible thing I could think of right now. Watch you squirm.
Yeah.
It's so purpose what he does, and people don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I watch him because I'm sure you've talked to Dave in person, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he probably would not know who I was, but.
Oh, he would. He's very lucid. He knows a lot of what's going on. And he's actually an incredibly smart guy.
Yeah.
When you talk to him, and he can, one-on-one, he's funny. I've done improv with him and watched him nail things. He's not a terrific improviser, but he knows how to do improv and be funny at it.
Yeah.
And he'll do that, and then he'll go up and do, so my wife sucks, and she'll never let me get to her taco. And when I say taco, I mean her vagina. Like, I like the word vagina. Like, that's Dave Stern, just creepy and unweird, and he gets off on watching you get uncomfortable. And I hate him for that because he's reveling in our uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
But I like him as a person, unfortunately. He's just too likable when you talk to him. But so when you work at the club, you just work in the office. You don't have to actually be, as a representative of the club, I'm going to have to ask you to leave or any of that stuff.
No,
right?
I've never had to do that. I mean,
not bounce people.
Sometimes I do seat the rooms for, like, the main showroom.
Okay.
I work at the cash register. Most of the time I'm in the office answering phones, but sometimes I'm covering shifts where, like, I do ticket sales and stuff like that. So, and it's like a fancier themed kind of place, so you have to dress to the nines to work there. One of the reasons why I love working there is because when I do meet famous people, I look fabulous. There's never like a moment
You're not wearing a smock
where
and a
I'm
name
like,
tag.
oh my god, why did I wear this horrible t-shirt and no makeup when friggin' Whitney Cummings came in, and like she's gonna think I'm such a nerd.
And I will say this because I was just last night talking to a buddy of mine. He was in LA a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Ben Quick.
Okay, yeah, I love him.
Don't know if you knew Ben.
Yeah.
I'm probably just
I used to book him when I did a show. I used to book a show in Worcester.
Okay.
At Mahoney's Pub because I know the owner. I went to high school with him, and I think I had him out at least twice. He's hilarious.
Well, this is he's great. Love him. I love him the pieces, his comedy and his personality. But he was saying he was just out in LA a couple weeks ago, three weeks ago, almost a month ago, and he auditioned at Flappers. And this is to show you how genuinely nice your club is, apparently by secondhand knowledge.
Yeah.
He thought he was just getting the screw off, jerk off, come in and audition, and their heads are turned, not paying attention.
Yeah.
No, they actually called him back. It was like, hey, we'd like to book you on Sunday. He's like, all right, I'm sorry, I already left town.
Yeah.
I can't do that date, but hey, I'm actually impressed that you watched me and that you called me.
Yeah.
Well, it's great that that club that you work at does that. They
do
pay attention to the people who are coming to the audition nights and moving people through. So
they do, and they definitely pay attention because I've been there when they sit there and talk about every single person's set.
Oh, really?
Every audition, every week, they have a list of people that went up, and they talk about, well, how do you think this person did? How do you think that person did? And then they talk about, like, what nights they might do well at, and they talk about the stuff that they have coming up. So they want to put you on a show that they know you're going to mesh well with the other comedians. So I think they are very smart in how they book newcomers.
Who's the woman that runs Flappers?
Barb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holiday.
Barbara Holiday, yep.
I met her. She came over here for BCF and did a workshop.
Yeah.
Fantastic workshop on marketing yourself or promoting
She's very
yourself.
Smart. She's a really good manager.
She impressed me.
She's a really good manager. She manages Drew Lynch, the stuttering comic from America's Got Talent. Yeah. Yes.
She had mentioned him. She mentioned a few of her clients and stuff, and she gave us like packets and just her time and talking. And it's like, I've looked into a lot of the marketing people that try to help comedians. Like, hey, comedians, let me show you how to market yourself. But you're a marketer. You work in PR.
Yeah, it's like they don't know anything.
And that's the reason why I went, is to see what she was going to teach. Everything she did was great points. She was right. She understood where she was coming from, why to do things. Like, I had the Our Boston Comedy stuff. I don't know if you've come across it since you've been in LA now, but
I think you follow.
Yeah,
you followed my account on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
My actual personal account doesn't follow you. That's probably why I saw. That's why I must because you posted a picture from Cape Cod today. That's how I knew you were.
Yeah.
Because I was going through Twitter and I was like, oh. I literally thought you were in Cape Cod. You were going to message like, oh, I totally forgot about this. So thank you for taking the train from Cape in to do this. But I run all that stuff. I went to a guy who is a marketer who tries to help comedians. And I asked him, like, hey, listen, I want to increase visibility on what I'm doing through social medias. What's a good budget to start with on Facebook and Twitter ads and stuff like that? And he goes, if you really want to increase your clicks to your website, what you need to do is start an email list, because email lists are the new podcasts. And it's like, all right, you know what, dude?
Yeah,
I've read that shtick, and that's not helping. That's not what I want to do.
Nobody gives their email out anymore because they don't want junk.
Yeah, well, no, the email lists work, but the only people that are working for are other marketing people.
Yeah.
The only people who are having success with email lists are marketing peoples, and it's all email lists to see how to be a better marketer, be better at PR.
Yeah.
It's a snake eating its tail, and they don't see it.
Yeah.
And that PR and marketing, I can't wait for that whole industry to collapse in on itself. PR marketing right now to me is the new sales, as to what sales were in the 90s and what acquisitions were in the 80s.
Okay.
It's the hip, cool job where you get the job, you make a lot of money, but you don't actually do anything.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm sure there's somebody in marketing who's going to hear this, and they can send all the hate tweets they want to me at Deadair Dennis, and I don't care. I can block them. So it's good that you work for a club that actually knows comedy.
Yeah.
They have to know that they are only as good as their product, right?
Yeah, I would say...
I like how, by the way,
best...
we mentioned everyone else's name involved with the actual name of the club.
Oh, yeah. So it's Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, California.
I'm not avoiding giving them a plug.
No, I forgot. I didn't think about giving it. I'm so...
No, I'm not saying we should plug them or we shouldn't. It's just funny that we mentioned the owner's name. We mentioned our friend who auditioned there.
Well, the thing is about
We've mentioned you who work there.
They have, in my opinion, the best food in any club in LA County.
Okay.
I think.
Which is and it's not important when it comes to a comedy club. Having good food is a bonus. Having food is good. Having good food is a bonus.
And not only that, but they have normal price drinks. You're not going to go there and get an $8 Coors Light and hate yourself at the end of the night. It's like you go there and you get a normal price beer, a normal price cocktail, and you get a normal price meal. And it's good food. And you can sit there and feel like not only did I have entertainment and enjoy this really awesome show, which on a weeknight, it's like $10 to get in, maybe 15 depending. And then if you want to go to a main room show on the weekend, unless it's somebody like Maria Bamford, where it might be like $25 to $30, usually it's only $20. So you're getting a headliner for $20. You're getting a really good show. You get to sit down. You have a table. You have great service, and they have amazing menu. And I'm a little biased because I work there, but other places and I'll say this because I don't really mind saying it, but I hang out at the Comedy Store and the wait staff are not very nice. And it's $9 beers, and it's their food comes from a microwave, and they have 3 things on the menu.
Ugh. Well, the Comedy Store, I only know of as Legend, so... Yeah,
the Comedy Store is a tourist...
Attraction.
Again. And you can definitely have a good time there, but because it's on Sunset Boulevard, it's overpriced, and I don't think it's, worth your money.
As a comedian or as an audience member or both?
I guess maybe both. I think if you're going to visit LA and you've never been, it's fun to go. Yeah. But if I were an LA resident, I'm not going to go there on the regular. I'm not. I would say Flappers is a better place to be a regular guest.
Okay. That's good to know.
And other places too. Even I'll say that about the Ice House in Pasadena. They have a decent menu and fair prices as well. And they get big people in there too. In
Boston, out of the only places that have food are places that do open mics.
Yeah.
Laugh Boston has food, but it's not terrible. It's fine food. The place that had the best food out of any place that did comedy, including open mic places, in my opinion, King's Bowling Alley. And unfortunately, we lost that open mic.
Oh my god, I love King's.
They are a little bit pricey.
Yeah,
but their
steak tips are dope.
Their food is worth the price, though, too. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm going to pay a little bit more for the burger, but that burger is going to be worth that. Well, not the burger, but whatever I order. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be worth that a little bit extra because it's actually really good. And then Tavern, but it's also, again, super good for different reasons.
Honestly, okay, Tavern at the End of the World, my favorite open mic in Boston. I don't love their food.
Okay.
But that's just me. Like, I'll get certain things, but I'm not, like, in love with everything on their menu.
Okay.
I don't, but it's a pub. It's just pub food. It's not.
It's good pub food, and I think that's where I distinguish it as it's really good pub food. That's why it's different than King's.
Yeah.
It's really good food cooked by a cook, whereas King's is really good food cooked by a chef for the most part. There's some Cisco product in there, like frozen product, but they actually make some really good, decent things. But now that I think about it, the only thing I've ever had at Tavern has been the Cubano. And it's a good American interpretation of a Cubano, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It serves all of its purposes. The meat's fresh. The bread's cooked properly. The fries are good. The whole sandwich is fine. I've had people make... I've never been to Miami and had an original, or Havana and had an original one, but I've had people say, I learned how to do this there. I'll show you how to make a real one. I've worked in places that did that. It's like, there's a world difference between one that's made traditionally and then one that we just make in a panini press here. And they're still good. So at least you're working at a club that is good.
I'd say it's one of the better places to hang out as a comedian, just because so many people go there, and the booker is a good friend of mine. Like, he's just a good guy, and like, he's really funny too.
Well, the worst thing, the most soul-sucking thing about being in the industry that we are in is having a job that you hate. Yeah, that's like some people were okay with doing.
It's so common.
They'll do anything, and they'll be fine. Like John Paul. John will do anything just to make enough money so he can do comedy, and I admire him for that.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
There's so many jobs that I just, like, I will never even bother. I could never be bothered to work retail again.
If I have to put on a polo shirt and a name tag, I'd rather hang myself.
Yeah. And I hate waiting tables because I get really bad anxiety. So, like...
See, I would go back to bartending. If I knew there was only going to be extra cash. If I had to go back to bartending to make a survivable living, I would hate it because, again, my age is one of the factors, and two, the other thing would be that I now focus on working for money instead of working for pleasure, because I love bartending. Yeah. I love waiting tables. But when it came to, I have to, when, like, a tight week, or a week when things aren't busy, I get so agitated and angry because I'm like, now it's affecting my cost of living.
See, that's kind of why I enjoy nannying, because I'm like, I know exactly how much money I'm going to make every week. And if I get extra, then that's extra. And to me, it's just something that comes like easily. You have to do something that I think if you're an artist, ideally, you want a job that you don't have to take home with you. And when I used to wait tables, it would just stress me out hours after I left. But now it's like, I leave, I give them back their baby, I say goodbye, and I go off and I do my own thing, and I don't have to think about it at all until I get there again the next day. Yeah. And that's, for me, is like the perfect job.
Now, were you nannying here before you went over there?
Yeah. Okay. I used to make dope money because I worked for 2 families. I watched a baby in the mornings, and then I watched like 3 boys in the afternoons, and then on the weekends, I used to do princess parties. So I was making like $600 or $700 a week, and that's how I paid for my trip out there. That's how I paid for school. Like, I saved up like $15,000 to move, and now it's like all gone.
What's a princess party?
A princess party is when you dress up as Cinderella and you go to a little girl's birthday party. And you do things like face painting and balloon animals and story time.
So you're a clown, but dressed as a princess instead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It is the best.
I've had friends who were party clowns and friends who were party magicians. I don't know if they would agree with you.
Princesses are better. Not going to lie. It's a better gig.
Princess party, there's no no bratty boys running around.
Not really. And
It's all
especially
girls.
it's like mixed. It's cute when there's little boys because they don't want to admit it, but they obviously have a crush on you. And then there's like the little girls who, when they're like 3 or 4, they truly believe that you are Cinderella. And it is the most magical thing I've ever experienced.
Okay.
Like, when I used to be the girls from Frozen, like, people paid ridiculous money to have both Anna and Elsa at their parties.
No,
your
hair color is naturally dark, right?
It's like reddish, like
Yeah.
a brunette.
I was going to say auburn.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell in this light if auburn, if it was naturally auburn or it was brown with a red highlight or a reddish highlights. But do you wear a wig when you're doing like Cinderella or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like me and this girl, we would go as like the duo, like the Frozen girls. It is the closest I will ever know to what it's like to be in the Beatles. Like, these girls were
that's a stretch.
obsessed. Oh no, you have never been. Like, we would go, like, they have these places, these crazy places that I don't know why parents ever take their children there, but it's like Chuck E. Cheese without the seediness. It's called My Gym, or there's a few places like it. My Gym is just one example, but you go in and it's like a big styrofoam jungle gym place.
Okay.
And these kids, there's like tumble mats and like sometimes like a ball pit. It's just like basically like an indoor playground for these kids, and it's cool. But they would pay us to come in, like the people there, just to get more people in that day, or like we would be there for a birthday party for the kids. And then it was like we were surrounded. Easily 50 to 100 girls would be like, we couldn't move. We were just enclosed and like locked in by these children. And then we would do a sing-along. We would play the music and they all knew the words, and some of them would like cry. They would all scream.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was insane.
I don't ever remember being that emotional about anything as a child. That's what, like, people do that.
Yeah.
But I don't get that.
That's how I would have been if Ariel had ever been at my birthday. I totally would have cried. That would have been the best day of my life. But I'm a crier also.
Yeah.
Like, my sister gave me Jim Carrey Canadian stamps for Christmas, and I burst into tears.
Over stamps.
They're stamps, but they have Jim Carrey's face on them.
No, I get it. But there's still
And I love
stamps. Oh my god. Jim Carrey stamps. Oh well. Well, teach their own.
He's
That's
my
exciting.
future ex-husband,
I mean,
FYI.
Well, who doesn't want to follow up Jenny McCarthy's tossaways? You just got a little bit sad about that now, didn't you?
No, he's a genius. I can say nothing bad about him.
No, he's a great and amazing. And I'll say this to her, as cuckoo as she is, I still find her attractive,
Yeah.
but also charming, and I hang on every word she says.
Yeah. Well, so Jim Carrey's the reason why I do anything.
Okay, really?
Like, yeah, when I was a kid, I saw The Mask twice in the theaters. I think I was like 4 when it came out. I'm surprised my mom even let me see that movie.
See, when I was 4, a movie called The Mask also came out. It was a very different movie.
Oh my god.
The one with the one about Rocky Dennis.
Oh my god.
With Eric Stoltz and I think Cher. Anyway, if you don't know that movie, that reference just fell flat. Anyway.
No, I do, but I have never seen it. I know the movie, but I've never seen it.
Anyway, so The Mask.
Yeah, so I knew
That was
I either
also
wanted
late in
to...
his career.
Well,
Not late.
because Ace Ventura hadn't even come out yet.
Mask was definitely after Ace Ventura.
Nope. Because Ace Ventura 2 came out when I was 7.
Yeah, 2.
The next one came out, Ace Ventura 1 came out when I was like 5. It was like the year after The Mask. The other one came out when I was like 7, maybe even 8.
I really want to disagree with you on that. We're going to get an answer to that. Ace Ventura was 1994. Dumb and Dumber's 94. Let's go.
Was The Mask 95? Did it come out after?
Earth Girls Are Easy, which
1994. The Mask was the same year, 1994.
Okay, Ace Ventura was first, and then The Mask. So they all came out in the same year.
Okay.
1994. That was a very good year for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
95 was, wow, they really followed up. 94 Ace Ventura, 95 When Nature Calls. That's a quick turnaround time for movies. 1 year?
That seems off. I feel like it
well,
was
obviously
96.
it must have been made IMDbing things with Deadair
Yeah,
Dennis. No, because I
IMDb time with
refuse
Dennis and India.
to be wrong. Okay, November of 95. So
Okay, so November. So, yeah, so I was almost 7. So what
again,
ended
1994, great year for Jim Carrey.
It was, and it was a great year for India Pearl. Because I fell in love with that man. And I either wanted to grow up and be just like... I decided in that moment, I was like, I want to grow up and dye my hair blonde and wear red dresses every day and be just like Cameron Diaz. Or I want to grow up and be just like Jim Carrey. Because either I was going to marry him or be just like him.
Jim Carrey. India Pearls want to be him. India Pearls want to be with him.
Yeah, exactly. That was my logic. I think I had my first sexual thought about Jim Carrey, and I didn't even know what sex was, but I knew I wanted it with him.
So Jim Carrey was your first celebrity crush?
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Absolutely.
All right, I could see that in the age group, because I knew him from In Living Color, Vampires Suck, I think it was, and Earth Girls Are Easy before any of those movies came out. Because I'm 34, so I'm
so it was when he was doing In Living Color was when he wrote Ace Ventura,
yep.
and when he was like working on The Mask. So
have you gone back through his stuff as an adult, or did you do that when you're teens or?
Yeah, like when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, and I was kind of deciding what I was actually going to do with my life. I started looking over the careers of people that I really admired and thought, well, what steps did they take to get to where they are? And Jim Carrey,
that's actually a good
has
method.
Such a fantastic career. And I was like, I want anything, a fraction of what he did. And he started out doing stand-up. And his Showtime special is probably one of the, if not the funniest specials I've ever watched. I love it. And I can only aspire to be anywhere nearly as good as he was as a comic. But then when his career started to develop in television and movies, he stopped doing stand-up. And a lot of people did that, like Adam Sandler. Robin Williams never really stopped doing stand-up, but he did for a while, and then he went back to it.
But yeah, he also went back in a time where you could do that.
Yeah, Caroline Ray, she's the same way. She did a sitcom, and then she was still doing stand-up.
Yep. But it's also... I feel bad for guys like Chris... Well, no, Chris Rock still does stand-up. I feel bad for guys like Adam Sandler and Eddie Murphy right now.
Yeah.
They're two of the most...
They're making movies, but they're just not...
Well, they're not good, but
they're not good, but they're flopping, and it sucks for them because they used to be the biggest thing that there was.
But they can't get back into stand-up in this day and age, and that's the problem. That's why I feel bad for them, because there's no way they would be able to do. And I'm gonna actually correct myself in a moment, but there's no way that Eddie Murphy or Adam Sandler could go out and work on material in front of a crowd and bomb a little bit and not get ruined by it. With cell phones, TMZ, and all that stuff, there's no way that they could not go to Flappers to do 10 minutes of untested material in front of people and it not make it online. Same thing with Chappelle.
But I will tell you that is why people who choose to do that, people who do have successful careers, but they still want to keep doing stand-up and they don't want to get judged for it, that's why they stay in New York. Because people like Sarah Silverman or Louis C.K., I think Sarah Silverman lives in Los Angeles actually mostly, but they do go to clubs in New York that are more kind of undergroundy, like they're not going to get judged so much there. And I think a lot more comics feel more comfortable working crap out at a place that they know they can get 10 to 15 and it's not a tourist trap.
Well, and the reason I'm going to correct myself is because David Spade's been doing interviews and tours lately, and he has been talking in the interviews that he's getting Adam Sandler back in some of his shows. Like, he'll give Adam 25 minutes on some of his shows. And he's getting the vibe back, and I think they're going to do a small tour.
That'd be awesome.
That would be, to see, and I think the tour is actually, it's going to be Spade, Adam Sandler, and I think Kevin Nealon and somebody else.
Yeah, Kevin Nealon is great.
Can you imagine seeing those three together doing just doing stand-up? Yeah. Having fun again. That'd be so entertaining. Think about what you want about the movies and whether he's got...
Well, Kevin Nealon is probably the one out of all of them that has stayed the most consistent with stand-up. And he comes into Flappers sometimes. Like, he does... He's great. He's a great performer. Dana Carvey's another one. Like, he still does stand-up all the time. His sons do it now, too. He takes his sons, like, on tour with him.
I think I heard of that his son was doing stand-up somewhere.
Yeah, he has two kids, and they're awesome. I love them. They're great kids. I'd say kids like they're so much younger than me. They're not. They're like 20 and 24, I think. But I'm friends with them, and they're like, they're funny. They're good. And it's awesome that their dad is taking them to do real time at real clubs, so they don't have to deal with the same bull crap as some other comics who are just doing like 3 minutes a night.
Well, yeah. So, but it's good that you work in an environment where you get to see that, because
Yeah, it's
I mean,
pretty cool.
I don't hang out. Well, here in Boston, we don't really have any clubs. We have Laugh. That's really it. I mean, you got
What about
Nick's.
Yeah.
We got Nick's and Dick's, and you got the studio. But you don't run in. There's not
a lot of crossover. It's like you pick one to be your home, I think.
You're not
because
seeing.
the owners are not friends. It's weird.
Which is weird. That's so dumb. But the real problem is you're not getting fresh. The only fresh comedic voices or outside of this New England area is Laugh Boston, and a little bit of the studio. Everyone who comes into town does drop in at the studio, so you'll see, Brendan Smalls or Maria Bamford do time at the studio, and that's great to see them in that environment. But the only time you're going to see somebody that, like the only time I'm going to see Dave Coulee in Boston is if he's doing Laugh Boston.
Or the Wilbur.
Yeah, well,
he did laugh. Yeah.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because he could have done Wilbur. Probably.
Yeah,
but
maybe,
I think he played
the
it safe.
The Wilbur is like 1,200.
Yeah.
Like Stanhope, when I opened for Stanhope at the Wilbur, and that's a 1,200 seater, but he'll sell out the theater. Yeah. But Coulier, I think.
Well, he just started.
Laugh does what, 300?
I don't even think it's that many.
I think it seats 300 at capacity. Okay. They don't always have all the chairs up.
Yeah, I think it's 250 regularly, maybe 300 max, maybe. So I never bothered to look, but I think when they were opening, they billed themselves as a 200 to 300 seat venue.
They were like, we want to be the people that can get good comics in that might not be able to sell out
the Wilbur.
Wilbur. Yeah.
So basically, people who are on their way up,
yeah,
or down from the Wilbur.
Yeah.
But that's where you're going to be able to. I'm never going to be able to interact with them at the Wilbur.
No,
I'll be able to interact with them at Laugh, because in between sets, like Ari was watching Ryan Donahue's set when Ryan was hosting for him a couple weeks ago.
Ari Shaffir?
Yep, Ari Shaffir, sitting in the back, literally actively watching him. And I'm like, that's a good guy there. He actually cares about what the guy is doing for it. And I talked to Ryan afterwards about it. He's like, oh, dude, he couldn't have been any nicer to me. That's nicest guy. Oh, too nice. Mm-hmm. Didn't get to interact with him because I was there shortly and I left to go try and get a gig somewhere else, which was a waste of my time. That was the nightcap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a place where I could have interacted with somebody like Ari. I don't care about interacting with him, but I'm not going to be able to interact with him if he's playing the Wilbur.
Yeah.
But I'm also never going to be able to interact with him at Nick's, because he's never going to do Nick's, because Nick's is not going to be able to book him.
Yeah.
Dick's. We'll never, not even on Dick's radar would they be able to book him. He may do a drop in the studio, and then you can run into somebody of that caliber, somebody that you respect. And
yeah.
So it's good that you're in that environment where you can run into those people like that.
And it works out better that I work there, because then I can go say hi to them and be like, oh, I'm an employee, instead of like, oh my God, I'm a fan, I'm bugging the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And then
hey, let me pick your brain.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of discourage us from like schmoozing too much, because they don't want us to bug people, but it puts the person more at ease when you're an employee, and then they're like, oh, you're a comic, and you're like, yeah, and then they're more likely to want to talk to you, because I think it's more like you're allowed to be back there, and there's somebody to hold you accountable if you're fucking weird.
Which some of us in this business are.
Yeah, some people are crazy.
Usually I'm pretty good at not being weird with celebrities. Just because I've done so much. Because the only time I've met them are at work or in professional environments.
I will say, though, I did cry a little bit when I met Maria Bamford. That was a little humiliating. But she didn't really notice. She's so nice. She's the best. She
seemed super nice.
Yeah, she's like a genius.
Well, Emily and Krista got to open up for her at the Wilbur last time.
I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's coming. Maria's coming back in June, so we'll see. That's great that she did that. Like, I think a couple of days before, she just sent it to me. He's like, "Hey, any comedians in Boston, if you want to open up for me, send me a tape." Like, openly said that.
Yeah.
In an open forum, not, hey, find somebody who's good and send me a tape to look at. No, she opens like, if you're in the Boston area.
Yeah.
That's my Maria Bamford impression, by the way.
I actually do I do a good Maria Bamford.
Well, we're not going to let you out of this room.
It's, wait, I haven't done it in a while. I have to think about it. But I did it for an impression show.
Okay.
And they seem to like it. So, hi, my name's Maria. And I have what they like to call bipolar 2.
Oh my God. That is actually really good. Like when I'm listening to somebody, I'm
it's
like,
the new gladiator sandal.
this is like my mark to doing a good impression. If your impression is good enough to where it still holds up after I close my eyes,
Yeah.
then yeah, you've nailed it. That's
Okay.
actually, God damn it.
Well, I did. So we were given like I think 3 to 5, and we were actually it was at Flappers, and sometimes like they have a decent venue for doing stuff like this. People go in a lot to try to do like pilots or TV stuff, and you know they'll rent out the space for a day for like fake comedy shows for movies and stuff like that. So there was these people that came in to do a TV show. They were hoping to pitch something for like a pilot. Something about like impressions. I'm not really supposed to go like that much into it, but I can say that much because they said they were doing it. It was like open to anybody who to know about it. So some kind of reality TV thing for impressionists, and then so out of they had like 60 some odd people that auditioned. I was wanting to do something that I could stick out, so I did like I think 4 minutes as her and then as all her other voices. So I took a bunch of bits that she does and then sort of worked them in a different, like I just reworded them, or I made it a completely different scenario. Like I think she talks about going camping and I talked about going to the mall or something like that. It was that. So I mirrored her jokes a little bit and then I did all her voices, and it was awesome. It was one of the most fun things I've ever done. In that moment, I kind of felt really proud of myself because I was like, oh, just like Jim Carrey, like he did all these impressions when he was first doing stand-up. We're going to bring it back to Jim Carrey.
You're Jim Carrey's unintentional protege. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. That's another one. If I ever meet him, I would just burst into tears. Like,
oh, really?
I can't. It would be so embarrassing.
I've never cried over a celebrity. I can't even imagine. All right, this is my one awkward celebrity moment. It was... Celebrity, when I tell you, you're like, celebrity, really? The lead singer from Goldfinger, John Feldman.
Okay.
I was in Philadelphia with one of the bands, with my best friend's band, not a band that I managed. My best friend's band was playing in Philly. My brother, one of my brothers lived in Philly at the time, so we went up, the singer and I went up a day early, hung out with my brother, spent the day walking around South Philly, Market Street area, and both my brother and my friend are vegetarians or whatever.
Yeah.
So we went to this place that does really good vegan cheesesteaks. We're there. If you know the band Goldfinger, they're huge animal rights activists.
Yeah, I've heard
PETA
of them.
thing, and they are, John Feldman's also, I think 3 out of 4 of the guys are vegan, and the 4th one's vegetarian, or whatever it is. But they're super into it. So we're there sitting there. They had played the night before in Baltimore, and I missed them because I was in Philly. Or no, I think they were playing that night in Baltimore that I was in Philly. The night before they were playing in Philly. So I missed them by a night. I missed them because I'm in Philly and they'll be in my hometown the next night.
Right.
And then the night after that, they're in whatever. So I'm just saying this. I'm literally talking about how mad I was that I'm going to miss Goldfinger. That I had so many opportunities to see Goldfinger and I missed all of them. And my brother and my friend get up to go to the bathroom. We're in this place waiting for our cheesesteaks, and I look up, and there he is from me, same distance from me to you.
Oh, nice.
Looking at the back of the head of John Feldman from Goldfinger, and he turns around. I'm getting a quarter of his profile. And I'm like, somebody has to see this. Like, I just finished talking about the guy, and he's here. I Candyman John Feldman from Goldfinger right now.
That's hilarious.
So I get up. I'm like, he's ordering. As soon as he finishes ordering, I do I reach my hand. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Feldman. Hi, my name's Dennis. I'm a huge fan of yours. Your music got me through a lot of tough times in high school. Your first record, I listened to it over and over again. And I just want to say I'm a big fan, and it's really great meeting you here. And I'm doing the 2-hand shake, and I'm out of words, and I'm just like, dude,
I have to let go.
Dude. Yeah, don't let go. Now I'm out of words, and he's like, I'm like, oh, sorry about that. He goes, nah, man, it's okay. Hey, you know what? This place has really great vegan food, so I'm glad that you came here. I was like, yeah, but I got the meat sub, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back over here now. And then he's sitting right behind me, so now I can't even tell him. I can't be like, John Feldman's right here. Like, he's literally head to the back of my
his head was on the other side. Yeah, he was on this other table. Yeah, okay.
Oh, he was literally sitting right behind me, back of our heads together, and I'm
funny.
like, I can't tell them about this.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I would have freaked out had I been talking about anybody at that moment, and then all of a sudden they showed up there. I think it was less me being surprised by the lead singer Goldfinger being there, and more of...
You were just talking about him. Yeah.
That's my one freak out.
That's your one.
That's my one. And then Natasha Bedingfield complimented the hat I was wearing one time when I was doing sound for her, and I blushed. So, because...
Well, what's her Cameron
pretty.
Esposito on her latest album? She has I think it was her latest album. Maybe it was another album ago. But she has a whole bit about how her sister goes to visit her, and she just moved to L.A., and Anne Hathaway comes in the... it's a great bit. She's amazing. Another one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites. I met her at the Women in Comedy Festival here about almost 2 years ago. But she's like, yeah, I saw Anne Hathaway, and then like she like stands up and points and like shouts. She's like,
oh my God, it's Anne Hathaway!
She's like, the Princess Diaries, or like something equally embarrassing. And I'm like, that would be me. I would do that.
Oh my God, you grew up. You and your sister grew up just playing princess all the time, then, Juice.
Oh no, it was just me. They did not like princesses.
Okay.
My sisters.
I'm starting to notice a princess theme here in our conversations.
Me, I love princesses. Like
Jim Carrey and princess. Like Jim Carrey in a tiara is your spirit
yeah,
animal.
don't you watch Saturday Night Live?
Oh yeah, no, there was
he's the best.
Well, what was he? Living Color. He did a ballerina or a fairy or something.
Yeah. No, what I really need is for
like
Jim Carrey just to be present, and then I get to wear a tiara
and a flowy dress.
Yes.
While birds do all your chores.
Yeah. It's like him. I want to be best friends with, and then also I have a slight obsession with Jennifer Lawrence. I love her.
She is incredibly charming as a person.
I found out that she called Amy Schumer's manager, got her email, and emailed her and was like, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm in love with you. And then they became best friends immediately, and they went on vacation in Martha's Vineyard and drank and rode jet skis together. And now they're going to make a movie together that they wrote. And I'm like, all I have to do is become just famous enough where I can organically charm the pants off of Jennifer Lawrence. That's my goal, is to become just famous enough so I can be friends with cool people.
I will say Amy Schumer is cool enough that she would do that. I've met her once, and she also went to Towson University, so... which is in Baltimore. So you kind of learn about being a person when you live in Baltimore for long enough. You learn to take no bullshit and be super nice. Which she was not in a dangerous part of town.
Oh, okay.
She was in... Towson is to Baltimore what Newton would be to Boston, but not Jewish.
Okay. See,
It's waspy.
What I like about her though is like she started in New York, so she has that like East Coast snarky thing going. You know, that's what I like about her the most.
Yeah, I don't know where she was originally born, but I know
she was in New York, upstate New York.
Well, was she born upstate New York? Okay.
Yeah, or like Long Island or something. Not in the city though.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, she does have that East Coast realism about her. Like there is something. Yeah. I mean, again, I've only lived on the East Coast, but I've lived in three port cities on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I know how when I moved there, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between Boston and Baltimore and DC, and a lot of things that we do different. Each other.
And like she's the
people. There's so much about the people that are the same in the East Coast.
It's like her and somebody like Whitney Cummings are the women that I think about when I think like, okay, who do I have to look up to now that I'm not a clean comedian? And then there's like, because back when I was young and I was thinking about what I wanted to do when I grew up, there just were not that many female role models who were like super out there and super popular that were doing what I wanted to do, you know? And
I've been called a misogynist a lot.
Okay.
Patently untrue. I don't dislike women at all, especially not for being women. I'll dislike women for being the person that they are, but not because they're a woman. Anyway,
yeah.
I always grew up with the mindset that women are funny. I've never once in my life genuinely said, women aren't funny, right, guys? Like,
yeah. Well,
I've never said that.
Notoriously does say that are other women.
Oh, yeah, they do.
It's bad. Like, as a woman performer, I can't tell you how many moms, it's usually moms, like soccer moms who are just not connected with feminism. They don't understand why this is an insult, but they come up to you and they go, oh, like, you're really pretty. That's so great that you're so funny. Or they'll say, like, I can't believe that you were talking about, like, masturbating. I always think the same thing, and like that's hilarious.
But I'm too afraid
they'll
to
be
say
like,
something.
yeah, and like stuff like that, like, which is a great compliment. But then they'll end it with, "I never really thought women were funny, and then I saw you," and I'm like, oh god.
As a kid, love Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Love Rita Rudner.
Yeah.
Love blonde hair, kind of looks not attractive at all, but had her own sitcom, Butler. Blair Butler, but anyway, okay, she's not even a famous comedian anymore.
Okay.
Sure, her sitcom went off the air probably while you were still in diapers.
Okay, yeah,
but
probably.
Roseanne Barr. Like,
Roseanne,
always.
best sitcom of all time.
Fantastic crew. But she had a fantastic writing crew.
Yeah.
But it can't take anything away from that. But it was she led the charge.
Yeah.
Of this is what we're going to do. She put the right people in the right places and gave them the right commands to do it. She led them. And you can't, I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from her, but she can't take all the credit for how great the show was. But she can take the credit for putting all the correct people and giving them all the correct jobs and the correct motivation. So, yeah, that show was fantastic.
Why people don't understand that that's an insult, I can't get behind. Because what I think, it's like when you talk to somebody and you say, oh, I don't even think women are funny, but you're hilarious. That's like going up to a black person.
It's like saying, I thought they were all thieves except for you.
Yeah, that's so great that you're a good person and you're not stealing my wallet right now. Like, you can't insult somebody that, it's weird. It's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the one I was going to, since we're on the topic of women.
Yeah.
And you're not going to speak for all women, but you can speak to your experiences.
Yes, all women!
But you can speak to your experiences, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember where I was originally going to go with this, but I'm going to answer this now. I have a small fear, even when I asked you to do this, because I don't know what it's like to be hit on all the time. And I can only imagine that, I can't imagine that a woman in comedy, like we all hear the jokes that it's like, every time I get an offer from somebody, I don't know if it's genuine or if they're just wanting to put their dick in my ear or whatever they want to put it. How, in your experience, how prevalent is that? Because I was actually slightly nervous to ask you, because I didn't for a moment want you to think I was hitting on you. No. I don't want, in LA, do they go, hey, do you want to do my podcast? Is that the no, let's have Netflix and chill? Like, I wanted to know, I really want to sit down and have a conversation with you. Obviously we are, and it's great. Does it happen as often as we hear it does to women, where they're getting hit on constantly by promoters, other comedians and stuff? Is it a slight exaggeration in your experience?
I would say I get hit on more by smarmy headliners than people in my specific peer group. Okay. Like, I think guys in my age group are getting better at not treating female comedians as fresh meat. They're getting better at treating them as colleagues, because I genuinely have good friends who are male comics. Not gonna say, though, that doesn't mean that, like, given the opportunity, would they sleep with me? Probably yes. But I think that's a problem that you have just being a woman.
Yeah.
Like, it's like my favorite movie, When Harry Met Sally, and he's like, men and women can never be friends because sex part always gets in the way. And she's like, that's not true. I have plenty of men friends and there's no sex involved. And he's like, well, they all want to have sex with you. Yeah. And she's like, what?
No, yeah, and that's 100% true. There's,
but that's like life, you know. But but what I will say is, I wear a wedding ring, because I get hit on a lot, and it's a problem. And the problem that really exists is that I can't say I'm really not interested in you because a lot of men are idiots and they don't understand why I could possibly not be interested in your ugly, self-absorbed, gross self. Like, I don't, you're, like, whether it be they're obnoxious or they're unattractive or they're just not my type, they can't conceive of why I couldn't be interested in them. So I have to tell them, and I have a bit about this, that I'm another person's property.
Well, see, that blows my mind because I've been turned down by women a lot.
Okay.
And I never walked away as like, her loss. I walked away with going, oh, all right, well, I guess I got to figure out where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, but
like,
that's because you're a good person.
Or because I have incredibly
Like,
self-crippling depression and self-doubt.
I have a whole bit
maybe
where
maybe
I talk
I'm not
about,
right, but I'm doing the right thing.
I can say, like, I'm like, you know, and I can say this because I'm part Armenian, but I say LA has a lot of Armenians. Okay. And, like, I say, like, you know, it's weird that, like, it's like, you might think it's weird that I wear a wedding ring, but it's to ward off predators because if you think that I'm totally botching my own bit, but if you think that that's unnecessary, then clearly you've never walked down Sunset Boulevard past to see a very grabby Armenian man. And I say, like, you know, you tell them that you're married and they immediately leave you alone because they don't want to get arrested for stealing property.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's real. The struggle is real.
That's all right. See, all right. Well, I'm gonna comment on that joke first, and then we'll get back to talking about women.
Yeah.
That you can get away with saying that about Armenians, but if I said that black people were so grabby with women, it would come off sounding so racist. Might be because of my haircut, the razor, the bic down head cut.
Well,
because I grew up in Baltimore, which is a very
I think that's a geographical joke as much as it is a cultural joke.
Okay.
It's also, I think that joke maybe would not land in a city where they didn't have a prominent Armenian culture.
See, I worked in D.C., so I understand about the Armenians as well.
Yeah.
And Middle Eastern Persian area. Persian people as well.
And they're fun crowds. Like, they will make fun of themselves.
They
know they're obnoxious. Like,
they
we
do.
As a people, we know we are obnoxious.
We're
loud.
Yeah. That crowd, I never want, because when I worked in a hip hop club, I had to deal with a lot of them as promoters or just ballers that come into clubs or whatever. And I hated that they would make me like them.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a douchey, smarmy, money throwing jerk off at a club, trying to make it rain. And I'm supposed to hate you. But damn it. You're just making me like you.
I know.
For all the things I hate you about.
Exactly.
But anyway, so it is. Is it any worse in LA than it was Boston for you?
The only difference, honestly, it's two different worlds, I think.
Being a woman in Boston, or being a woman comedian in Boston and LA.
Being a comedian in Boston and LA, it's just two different communities because there are so many more people worried about getting on TV or getting noticed and getting a manager and impressing famous people. And in Boston, it's more like trying to get spots and trying to develop your act, which is why I'm glad I waited until I did comedy for, like, at least, I think I was doing comedy for over 3 years before I moved. I had a decent 15 to 20 before I moved. I could have waited longer, but because I do acting, I couldn't wait any longer. But you know, I think a city like Boston that has a good community that helps you write and develop as a performer while you're not worried about who might see you suck, it's a great city to start out in. And then you can make the decision of where you want to go after that. I don't think it's a great place to stay forever if you want to advance your career past going to Florida once a year to do, like, old people homes.
Yeah, no, when I moved to Boston, it was a pit stop for me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I came here because it's so much harder here than it was in Baltimore.
Yeah, because people are snarky and they're smart. They're smart crowds.
Not the crowds, so much as more as the comedians around me. You're only going to be as good as the people that you're surrounded by.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm not going to say I was amazing in Baltimore. And I'm not going to say when I go back to Baltimore, I crush and kill it and I make everybody bow down to my comedy prowess.
Okay, yeah.
But I do, and I've had guys come up to me and go, dude, you are noticeably better than when you left here. Granted, when that was said to me, it was because it was 10 months later or a year and a half later.
Yeah.
So there's that balance of, was it because I worked harder in a harder environment or because time actually got me on my side? But I still watch what people are doing when I go down there, when I go back, and I'm like, no, none of this would fly back in Boston.
Yeah, yeah.
What these people are doing. So I think I got better by working in a better environment.
Exactly.
And personally, so I don't know, does comedy scene in LA feel like it's a next level up than Boston? Like, does this feel like middle school and LA is high school or anything like that, to use that level of progression?
No. I think you go to LA to try to be on TV and in commercials. You don't go to LA to get paid club work. There isn't any.
Okay. Unless
you're already famous.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know very little just from other people. If you want to
make money from comedy, you have to leave LA.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to make money doing comedy, you're going to go on tour. That's the end of it.
Okay.
You got to get a road manager. You got to go on tour.
Okay.
Because nowhere in LA pays you unless you're a headliner.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But also from what I hear, there's not a lot of headlining spots in LA. It's mostly all showcases. So That's true too. Yeah. Because they also are worried about who's going to be in the audience. Yeah. So do that tight 10 instead of a good hour. Yeah. A 10 that's so compact and yeah, like the last time I did a half hour, I opened for this guy. I did a gig like 3 hours away. But that's what you do. You have to go on the road to do 30 to Well, it's the same thing in Boston here. Like, there's very little outside of Nick, Sticks, and Laughs as host and features. There's no money being made. Right, but I think you'll get more often. If you get into the circuit, if you can get in good with somebody like Ryan, then you'll get booked more often on the road out here. There's more road. The New England circuit has more comedy clubs to be going out on the road. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's more road here. Like, you have to fly. You have to get on a plane. From LA. To, get good road work. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the road here is literally by car. Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. I guess that is the difference, and I agree with you on that. Yeah. I didn't think about, if I'm in LA and it's 3 hours away, it's a 3 hour drive through the desert. Yep. No, that's a 3 hour flight, is what you're saying. Well, no, I drove, but that's an anomaly. Okay. You can go to Vegas and do time, too, which is a drive, 4 hour drive. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's. 4 hours drive is not that bad, but it's also travel to and from. That's a day's work. Oh yeah. Whereas you could put in a day's work, driving to Maine, doing a show, and driving back. Exactly. And you'll put in less than a day's work. And that's an evening. Yeah. So okay. So yeah, Boston's definitely more of a driving road town, whereas LA, you really just have to get out of it. I guess that's right, and it makes more sense when I think about some of the things that I know people that I've heard people talk about. Yeah. In LA. So at least you're happy there. That's good. Yeah, so far. I'm really happy. I mean, if you're not, you can be honest. I'm not going to Mark Maron you where it's I want to make you cry. It's nice. But that's good. But yeah, the only what I remembered I was going to say about women is because you said your comedy idol is Jim Carrey. Yes. I grew up seeing tons of women in comedy, and there was a time in my life where I kind of wanted to grow up to be Lucille Ball. I definitely did Lucille Ball jokes and gags to my friends, in Catholic school. Oh, that's funny. So, for me, women being in comedy was always there. I definitely told Rita Rudner jokes to people when I was a kid. Because I know in middle school, when No Cure for Cancer came out, I told that album front to back to people at school. Oh, wow. Right? Yeah. So, I've definitely immersed plenty of jokes from both men and women growing up. So, I don't understand when you brought up the fact that there wasn't a lot of women comedians to be idolized. Did you have? What I will say about that is I didn't watch a lot of stand-up until probably high school, maybe college. I didn't start doing stand-up till I graduated, and it was I didn't start doing stand up until I was 30.
Yeah. So, but
I
I
was
would
watching
say
it
there
since I was
were
a kid.
somebody like Lucille Ball, right? I'm a kid watching I Love Lucy marathons. That's not going to be in my mind like, I want to be just like her because she's been dead for how long? You know what I mean? Like Jim Carrey was... I think she was still when
alive
I
when I was a kid.
back in the 90s, the big people
Barely
who were
alive.
doing movies and like really getting attention, who were like the most popular, like funny people out there, like movie-wise, I would say were like, you know, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Adam Sandler, David Spade,
I definitely wanted to be Robin Williams. Definitely wanted to be David Spade when I was growing up. But again, also at the same time, I wanted to be Lucille Ball.
Like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Molly Shannon, when she started doing her thing, I was like, oh my God, like women can do this? And that was like the beginning for me of like, okay, I don't have to be the Cameron Diaz. I can be the Jim Carrey.
Huh.
Like,
That's interesting.
like Molly Shannon's doing it.
I don't have that perspective. When I hear people say, it's like, you know, if I heard a woman say that there was no female role models for me growing up, I was like, Joan Rivers, like, how did you not? But
I didn't watch anything of Joan Rivers till college. I didn't even know she really existed.
Yeah. And
But this is also, people need to understand this was before the internet.
Yeah.
Like, the internet was invented when I was, like, 11.
Yeah.
And then, like, nobody really
catch
had
on.
it at their house until I was, like, 13. And then it was still, like, you didn't know how to search the internet. You didn't know how to find out about people. And I wasn't that into stand-up. I wanted to be in movies as an actor when I was little. And then I didn't think about stand-up until I was probably 19 or 20.
Yeah, see, I grew up I grew up right at the end of the comedy boom in the 80s.
Okay,
so
yeah.
stand-up was everywhere for me, and then in the 90s it kind of disappeared for a while.
Yeah.
And if it had not disappeared, I probably would have started comedy earlier. Because it started making a little bit of a comeback in the early 2000s when I was already in my teens and in college, post-high school, college. And I was like, oh. But it was still, even if you think about 2001, how impossible was it to Google search open mics in 2001? Today you can do that.
Yeah.
But just a few short 10 years ago, it was
I didn't
impossible
even
to find
know
that info.
that honestly, until I was like 20, I didn't know that how people wrote jokes. I honest to God thought that stand-up comedy was when funny people just stood on stage and talked at you about whatever, and they were making it up as they went along. I had no idea that was something that they worked on for like months, years. That was all new to me. It was crazy.
Yeah, see, I was such a nerd. I definitely knew that, but I can see how other people don't. But I think I had an older brother who would tell me, he's like, "No, dude, he didn't just make that stuff up. He's been writing that stuff for months." So I had somebody who was just slightly old enough to give me the logical older information that you would figure out. But so at least you like, do you have any? We mentioned Amy Schumer earlier. You mentioned Jennifer Lawrence. As a female comedian now, do you have anybody who you're looking up to now that there are so many of them present? You did mention Carmen Esposito.
I really love her. I would say Whitney Cummings.
Okay.
What I love about Whitney Cummings is that she herself, like, I don't know. I find like when I've met her a couple of times, and she reminds me so much of my older sister that I have like a weird affinity for her. Like, I just find an odd connection with her, and she would probably be like, "You're creepy." But like, I've met her mom and stuff, like when she came to the club, and then I was like telling her this funny story about how her mom asked me to tell her every single thing on the menu. And like, because her mother was just like, I don't know, she wanted me to tell her every single thing on the menu.
She wanted somebody to read it to her. She didn't want to read
it herself. And then Whitney's like holding my hand the whole time and laughing with me and being like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." And in my mind, I was like, I just want to be best friends with her. And she's also the same age as my sister.
Okay.
So I just I find a weird connection with her. Okay.
So no, that's hilarious that you read that you feel that affection towards Whitney. Whitney Cummings.
I wish like I could explain to her how I have a weird affection towards her.
Yeah, because you can't tell somebody that's like, "Oh, you're just like my older sister." I feel like you're my older sister,
and I don't. Because I don't know how she'd feel about that. Like somebody could be really touched by that. Like, but then somebody
it's easy
else
to say
could
that,
be
like, "Oh, dude, we're like brothers," but it's sometimes like, dude, you
I'd
kind
be
of
like,
like my
you
older
remind
brother.
me of my older sister, and you
Yeah.
make me miss her, and like I just want to hug you. And she'd be like, oh God.
This again. Oh, well. So, do you ever play comedy for the baby when you're nannying?
No.
Because it's Whitney Cummings and she's dirty?
Well, yeah, and because, well, she's not, I mean, she's only 8 months old.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
And she
You can
doesn't...
play it. She's not going to notice the
No,
difference.
I usually play, like, music, like kids music, and I sing with her, or I like do like or I'll put on a podcast, because in my mind, if I have NPR playing, then maybe she'll be smarter than me
And she'll be smarter than you, not become a comedian
and not have
and
to
a
become
nanny.
a comedian. Yeah.
Is there any certification to be a nanny, by the way?
No, just
Okay.
learn how to do CPR
Okay.
and don't kill children.
So, all right, don't kill children and learn CPR. You know what? I know both those things.
Yeah.
Actually, I know how to
I mean,
not
you
kill
have
children.
to like it.
I know how to not kill children because I know how to really kill children.
Oh, God. Yeah. You have to like it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially with infants. I mean, this is my 6th baby.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly during the day that you work with kids, right?
Yeah.
So that's perfect for comedy.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And
'Cause
plus,
I leave, I go eat dinner, and then I go to a club.
well, it's also, you have the joke of, I think you had the joke where it's like you put the baby down for a nap and then you
I
also
also
get
nap.
the
Yeah.
nap. So.
Which is great, because when you have comedy hours, you also don't want to get up at 7 like real people do.
Yeah. Well, does the nannying hours affect having to act? No, we talked about doing night shoots
If
or auditions.
if
or
I
anything
have
like
to
that?
if I got a commercial that paid really well, I would just take the day off. I would
Okay.
just tell them, like, look, I'm gonna make $1,000, or like not God forbid, but like if I was lucky enough to get something like a Subway commercial, that's like $30,000. I'm not gonna say no.
Oh yeah.
I have to take the day off, and they understand.
Well, you taking the day off to do it, yes, but what about auditions?
So I don't get enough auditions for it to be a problem.
Okay.
I'm probably like
Would it be
every
better?
other week or once a month.
Like if you were doing less nannying, would you get more auditions? You
No.
think? Oh, okay. All right.
No. I just, if something comes up and I think it's a good audition, I'll take a couple hours off.
Okay.
I'm lucky enough where they can do that because the dad works really close by. Not everybody can. I probably could make more as a nanny. I know nannies. I mean, not personally, but I know there are nannies who work in Beverly Hills and they make $50,000 a year.
Fuck that.
But I also do not want that to be my life. So I take a pay cut because I know how much I need to make to get by, and they help me out because they're my friends.
All right, and the last question.
Yeah.
Have you ever pawned off the baby as being your own for any reason whatsoever, like a parking ticket or a discount somewhere, or even it's like, have you showed up to an audition while nannying the kid and was like, yeah, no, this is my kid. I need to feed my kid. Look how scrawny my kid is. Really could use the acting work.
No, I've never pawned it off. I've never done anything like that, but I do allow people to think that it's mine because it's just easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, glad you came in. Sorry we had a long walk a long cold walk from the train.
It's all right.
Well, you're from here. You should
I'm
get used
still
to
a
it.
New Englander at heart. I can deal with the cold.
Yeah. You know what? I feel bad though about this one thing, because when we saw each other at 100 First Jokes at IB, there was like you and like 3 or 4 other Boston, LA comedians.
Yeah.
And because I recognized that, because I did a show on Wednesday with one of them.
Yeah.
And I met another one, like, hi, I'm Dennis. We've never met. You're the one person out of 140 people in this room I don't know. Who are you? Hi.
Yeah.
She was an LA comic. I knew you were here, Caitlin, and like 2 other people. And I was like, oh, I need to wrangle you all together and make sure you all meet each other. So when you all go back, you now have a collective of
We all know
Boston.
each other.
Okay. I assumed you did.
We all do. I promise.
I'm sure. But
we all moved. Actually, the people that you're talking about, we all moved within like 6 months of each other.
Oh yeah, no, Caitlin did.
and I went to school together. We did the same program.
Well,
but
I knew
she
Caitlin.
did writing.
Yeah. But there was like Deirdre Devon was there.
Okay.
She moved out there like 10 years ago.
Oh. Okay.
But she also doesn't do stand up as much. But I know she's done flappers. But also, I have that. I'm the kind of guy that has to introduce people.
Yeah.
Even if they know each other, I have to introduce people, and that's I have to apologize to at least one of you that I did not introduce the rest of you, even if you already knew each other. So, all right, good talk.
Thank you.
Get home safely.
All right.
And there it is, my podcast with the hilarious and funny and charming and delightful party princess and responsible human being. I guess you have to be responsible to be a nanny. This was a fun podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much. Oh, by the way, I do want to say, I want to give a shout out to some people. Because, at the end of these things, we all say, like our podcast, subscribe if you like it, leave a review if you like it, 5 stars and stuff like that. And I just assume it's falling on deaf ears. It's just, when I did YouTube stuff, I would always refuse to say, leave a comment on and subscribe and stuff like that. Because, everybody says it. It should be ingrained that we know to do that. If you just stumbled across this podcast for whatever reason or whatnot, hi, thank you for listening to the entire thing for me to say thank you. But if you like something, you subscribe to it. And if you like something, you tell people you like it, So I just assume either people are doing that or they're not doing it. Or I just assume I'm saying it and no one's listening. But people are listening. So thank you, Card Cheat and Lead Liker, for leaving positive comments on the iTunes. I appreciate that. You guys give it 5-star. I think this is the only 2 customer reviews that are up. Maybe there's more. I really don't know. I also stumbled across them by accident because I was checking to see which podcasts I had posted and which ones I still needed to edit for today. And I came across 2 reviews that were left, and I was like, oh, it warmed my heart. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Somebody actually did that, and I appreciate it. And I don't want you guys to think that it doesn't go unnoticed. So I noticed it, and thank you guys. And I'm trying to I usually generally try to stay away from looking at that stuff because I know I'll become obsessed with it, like the statistics and numbers and how many people are listening, how many people are downloading and streaming and what your web clicks and stuff like that, because I don't want to get caught up with it in my head because I know how kind of crazy I am in my head. And I will get obsessed, and I'll be checking them all the time. And then I'll start thinking of ways, how do I get the numbers up? Well, they listened a lot more on this one, and they didn't listen to that one. And how do I change it? And I'm that kind of a person. And I don't want to be that person. So I try to avoid that stuff. Luckily, I did not have to avoid it. It just accidentally showed up. So thank you, Card Cheat. Thank you, Lead Letter. And thank you for everyone else who is subscribed to the podcast, who are leaving. If you're leaving, I don't know if you've left a positive review on Stitcher is the name. Or I don't even know if it's live on Google Play yet or how you're listening to this. Maybe you're just going right to the deadairdennis.com/podcast and you're listening straight through there. And if you are, thank you. However you listen to the podcast, thank you guys for doing it. And if you're stuck through for the 3 weeks of hiatus while I sat here at home, just anxiously awaiting to get a fixed computer to bring this podcast to you, if you're returning after that hiatus, I thank you so very much. So thank you for enjoying this episode of So What Do You Really Do? The podcast where I, Deadair Dennis, sit with people and talk to them about their day jobs. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to bed. Good night.